Trying to get my set loaded back up. Jeez. Okay, we'll see how well this goes. I mean, it keeps crashing on me. And if it keeps crashing, I'm going to switch to locally. And I went ahead and penciled these ahead of time. I did 2 of them because I don't know if the pencils show up so hot on these streams, so since I pencil in blue, so I'm just jumping right into inking 2 of them. And yeah, I decided to do 30-30 because it sounded like a challenge. Never drawn him before. Yeah, I don't know if you remember Thundar, Renee. I don't know how much airplay he got outside of the U.S. But he was sort of like a more aggressive and savage He-Man. Probably more what the writers of He-Man thought they were going to do. And I liked Thundar when I was a kid. Not as much as He-Man, though. Another reason I decided to pencil ahead of time, it's harder for me to talk while penciling than it is while inking. Penciling is a little bit more, I'm thinking a lot harder when I pencil. Whereas with inking, most of the real spade work of illustration has been done, so at this point I just relax and just inking lines. At least for me. So how's the stream looking? I mean, is it clear? Can you see what I'm doing at all, or? Well, that's good. The whole reason I'm doing all these tests is because I want to find that provides the best visual quality. Stickam was good, but it's just, man, the website I think looks kind of ugly, and I couldn't figure out how to trim videos. I mean, nice thing about Ustream is you can trim videos after the fact. Some of the dead space that starts at the top of these. I don't know if you can do that with Justin TV. But I really like the customization you can do on the Justin TV site for your page or your channel or whatever you want to call it. I really like that. Yeah, I noticed that too. Stickam had a lot of insight. I mean, they got to subsidize the, you know, like you were saying, Renee, online, on Twitter, that, you know, the problem with free services, they got to figure out how to monetize somehow. These days, it's all advertising. But that doesn't make it very fun to use the service. I'm surprised I haven't had a crash yet. Knock on wood. Ah, okay. Well, that's good to know. I can live with choppy as long as you can see what I'm doing. I was looking at the Ustream video that I shot, and I was really taken aback at how hard it is to see what's going on. It was so low res. He's a strange character. Strange idea for a character. A horse that turns into a guy. A really cranky, curmudgeonly guy. There's a lot of imagination in Filmation. Not really inventing any kind of a new pose here. It's just like a standard kind of pose that I like to draw, just because 30-30 is physically a bit of a challenge to figure out. Whereas with Thundar, you'll see when I get to inking that one, I chose a little bit more of a pose because he's just a barbarian guy. It's not too hard to figure out. And it's cool knee pads. I like drawing guys with robot body parts because it gives me a cool opportunity to play with some dry brush effects that I don't often get to do. Normally they're just saved for backgrounds, but this time it's going to be used for reflective chrome elements of his robot arms and legs. Again, what a weird idea for a character. I'll get back. The stream's still going this time. I might be able to stick to TV. Like I said before, I really didn't want to use Ustream just because of what they did to Krishna. But from what I've been hearing, that's been a constant problem with a lot of websites now where you have such a small team developing software. They'll have, you know, a link to report abuse or flag something as inappropriate, and because there's so few people working on the darn thing, you have no reason to really talk to anybody. You'd think it'd be the other way around. You think that because they have fewer people, they'd be more personal attention to problems, but when you've got like a zillion trillion users and there's only 12 people on the team, it makes it problematic with doing like actual one-on-one customer service and addressing customer problems and issues. Alright, now time for... Well, a lot of the Filmation shows followed the kind of format that He-Man had. I mean, He-Man was just much like the Lone Ranger and Zorro show that came before that, and Black Star, which came before He-Man. They were all roughly the same kind of premise. I think they were probably informed by a lot of the DC work they were doing in the 70s and 60s. Batman, Shazam, Aquaman. So and Zorro too. I mean, He-Man is just a fantasy version of Zorro, really. So it's not surprising that there'd be a lot of similarities in theme and tone and structure between Brave Star and He-Man. Drawing cacti for the first time in a long time. This takes me back when I used to live in Phoenix, and I did a lot of freelance illustration work for the Arizona Department of Tourism. I would draw cacti an awful lot. I'm intentionally trying to make this cacti look a little bit more twisted and weird, though, because it's fantasy cactus. And now to make it feel extra spacey, I'm putting in a big old planet in the background. And it's going to have to be 9. So we're going to go ahead and a nice thick outline around 30-30 in the planet. Fill this all in with ink. So say that Brave Star, comparatively speaking, is a little bit more edgy and grown up than the He-Man cartoons. The He-Man cartoons are the Filmation He-Man cartoons are very innocent and guileless. Brave Star had a little bit more of a bite to it. I mean, for crying out loud, Tex Hex is like some sort of like demon zombie character. Rampage, the big demon buffalo, bison, whatever you want to call him. It's kind of scary looking. I think they started heading in that direction. She-Ra, you start seeing a little bit more kind of scary imagery, a little bit more edgier imagery in the Filmation shows. And Brave Star, too, a lot more keyframe animation, which just made it feel much more lively and moving than the He-Man cartoon. Don't get me wrong, I love He-Man. You guys know that. Okay. And let's fill in this. And... oh, thanks. I'm glad you're liking what I'm doing so far. Well, that reminds me, I gotta do the dry brush effect for the metallic sheen. quick line. Don't want to overdo it. Okay, now it's time to pull out some India ink. I don't know if the edgy